Hello and welcome to the Hindu's Parley, a weekly podcast in which we discuss an issue with the leading experts in the field. I am PK Ajith Kumar. This week we are asking the question, should chess be an Olympic sport? Chess has been making headlines in India's media space in a big way, following the stunning success India's men's and women's teams had at the Chess Olympiad in Budapest last month.
The original
They both
Olympiad
won the
jersey
gold, so
is the
India is the
Grandmaster
world
model,
champion in the men's
featuring
and women's
footwear
chess at the same
made by
time.
Tony
Only
and
China and the former Soviet Union have done that in the
It was
past.
created in 1927.
Chess, however, is not part of the Olympics, the biggest sporting show in the world. Is it time for chess to join the Olympics? To answer that question, we have with us today Viswanathan Anand and Pravin Thipsay. Anand is a five-time world champion and is the man responsible for the chess revolution we are seeing in India now. He is also the World Chess Governing Body FIDE's deputy president. Anand is India's first Grandmaster, while Thipsay is third. Thipsay is also an experienced coach and analyst. Anand and Praveen, welcome to the show. So let's go straight to the topic. Do you think chess should be an Olympic sport? Before answering that question, Anand, I would like you to speak about your experience of playing chess as an exhibition sport at the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. You had played against Alexei Shirov, who was also the challenger in your first World Championship match.
Yes, it was a very interesting match with Shirov, and I think we played very combative chess in that match. It was nice for us to visit the Sydney Olympics and get to see how it was organized. I we hoped at that time it would be a first step to getting into the Olympic Games. I think getting into the Olympic Games is very desirable for chess. Also, in a way, it's a sort of homecoming. Chess has just completed 100 years. That I mean, FIDE rather has just completed 100 years, and I think that's very much in the time of the International Olympic Committee. So it would be nice if chess became an Olympic sport.
Okay, if I could come to you, Praveen, what would your answer be to that question? Do you think chess should be an Olympic sport?
Yeah, I think so. It has every reason to be. Of course, I wasn't a part of the Sydney Olympic. I couldn't go to watch the matches, but I've seen other matches being played, and I must say, there's a lot of interest was generated in the Indian contingent which participated in the Sydney Olympic Games. So, I mean, they were very curious to see a chess match being played, and that sort of interest by among the athletes who are there to play the regular events, that shows that they also consider chess to be sort of with parity, and they feel that this game could be in the Olympic as well. But my personal opinion also is the same as Anand, that it deserves to be a part of Olympic sports, not only because uh, it is played by over 200 countries, but various other factors, as will be discussing during this talk.
Yeah, sure. So, how realistic are the chances of chess becoming an Olympic sport, Anand?
I don't have a number for you. I know that we are in close contact with the IOC. If the situation changes, then we are ready. And the other thing I would like to say is that chess is already working, and it's already part of the esports, which is also an Olympic discipline or an Olympic event. So maybe that is the pathway for chess to become an Olympic sport. Either way, I think chess is definitely deserving of being in the Olympic Games.
And Praveen, so how realistic are the chances, do you think, are of chess becoming an Olympic sport?
I think it has to be presented in a different way than it has been. In this respect, I'm luckier than Anand because I was a part of the 1994 Chess Olympiad, that's 30 years back, and Samranch was there for 4 or 5 days, and Kasparov was talking to him about inclusion of chess in Olympic sports. and the quiet atmosphere and the slow nature of game and not much of activity perhaps might have led to some observations which were not very healthy, because on the last day Samraj said that he did not see chess being a part of the Olympic movement during his tenure. Of course, that's long gone, 30 years back, and the chess has actually changed a lot. And if we project it in a right way, then I think there's a really good chance of making it, rather than letting it sound like more or less a I mean, chess game should not be compared with a lecture given by a professor, which in mind of many people is such that okay, somebody is knowledgeable and okay, he is able to deliver. Also, a scientist working on a project. The chess is not that way, and it has to be projected. If done that in a proper way, I'm very optimistic about chess being included.
So, do you think chess could gain by becoming an Olympic discipline, making it more popular and encouraging more countries to invest more into the game? Anand, if you could go first.
Yes, I think definitely. So here's the thing: if chess becomes part of the Olympic Games, we are at the moment part of the Olympic movement, but we are not an Olympic sport. If we became an Olympic sport, this will automatically help in many countries across the world. As Praveen also mentioned, we are in more than 190 countries. For all those countries, chess will become an Olympic sport in their respective countries, which would facilitate interactions between the federation and the government and the sports ministry and all that. The second thing is, of course, that chess will benefit from the worldwide attention given to the Olympic Games. So, in both cases, for chess, it'll be a very nice thing to be an Olympic sport.
And Praveen, your thoughts on that?
Yes, perfectly. I think, well, I must say that every sports discipline benefits when it's a part of the Olympic Games. Certainly, because it's entire the Olympic event, the entire Summer Olympics, particularly, draws attention of almost every sports lover in the world, and even non-sports lovers come to that because it's a matter of pride of the country, and that is where being a part of Olympic Games does matter. And almost every, as Anand said, I've been in touch with some developing countries federations, and they say that the government doesn't support them enough because they are not a part of Olympic sports. And if they're included in Olympic Games and their continental games, then it would have different atmosphere, and the players could really do well. So I think it's generally everybody believes that it will certainly do good for a particular sport, and chess is no exception.
And Praveen, if I may add, you're talking of, developing countries maybe not investing enough in chess because it is not an Olympic sport. We all know that even the UK, even in the UK, chess is not even considered a sport. So you feel that maybe that is the way to go forward for the game to become more popular across the globe.
Yes, objectively, it is true that even in Americas, probably, or even USA, Canada, it's not really considered a sport. The sport loving community doesn't come to uh, chess that way. There's only a specific crowd that watches chess. And it's basically, we can't say it's a sports loving crowd as by itself, it's a chess loving crowd. For example, if I'm watching a sport and I see a good football match, if it's not there, if there's a tennis match, I watch it. If there's a cricket match, I watch it. Badminton. So that happens with other sports. The spectator of a chess match is basically a chess lover, and that has to change. And the Olympic, including in the Olympic sports, will help that. Well, there are different ways that have to be done, as we'll come to that. But yes, even in developed countries, there are chess viewers and there are sports viewers. So at the moment, chess viewers happen to be different than the sports viewers who do not mind. Okay, football is not there today, we'll watch tennis. So that is not observed in chess. Like somebody doesn't say that, okay, today I missed the football match, let me watch a chess game. It doesn't usually happen to a common sports lover. And our idea is that it should happen that way.
Yes, and Anand, your thoughts on that?
In a sense, I agree. I think in the Olympic Games, what happens is pride in your country often is a big factor. People are excited about any sport in which your country is excelling, and they're looking at medal tallies and things like that. So, in a sense, chess will be exposed to a wider audience. It will definitely benefit from that. I must say, probably the majority of countries now recognize chess as a sport, and that is fairly universal. But it's true there are one or two countries where this decision hasn't really been made yet. And again, the Olympic being in the Olympic Games will settle that discussion internally.
Okay, if it is included at the Olympics, should it be a team event or an individual one, or maybe both?
Yes, I would say that we would have to start with the planning for the games. I mean, first of all, we will have to find out how many days we are allocated, and then we can work backwards from there, discuss the format, the time control, whether it should be team or individual. All those decisions can be made working from things. So it'll have to be in close coordination with the Olympic Games to figure out what it is they're looking for, what kind of facilities they have on offer, where we will play, and then we can work out the format. I think essentially format and things like that are chess can be pretty flexible. So we'll first have to see what the possibilities are, and then we can easily take a decision on that. I believe that chess already experiments with so many formats, and so many formats of chess are watched and enjoyed by people all over the world, that it'll be quite simple to pick any one of them to be in the Olympic Games.
So, Praveen, what would you prefer? A team event or an individual, maybe even both?
At the moment, I believe only in the individual event because like we have some individual sports being played in team events as well, but people are not really thrilled of say for example badminton. People are not really thrilled about how a nation performs against the other, but they are more concentrating on the individual matches and individual events. So chess also essentially being an individual sport, I think one should start with individual championship because it will be a parallel world champion or world number one. Rather, the Olympic individual gold medalist will be considered above the world champion or world number one. And because it's basically an individual game, I think to start with, it may be better to start only the individual event. Subsequently, if it gathers enough attention from the societies all over the world, then perhaps it could also go as a team game. But my personal opinion is at the moment, we should insist on an individual championship where a individual gold will be considered better than world number one or the world championship.
So the question is, can the Olympics and the Chess Olympiad coexist? Or do you think chess should sacrifice the Olympiad for the sake of making it to the Olympics? Anand?
Many sports continue with their traditions as long as they do it on their own. It's not a problem. Of course, scheduling will be an issue. So it may be that chess Olympiads do not happen in Olympic years, or some compromise like that will have to be found. But the Olympiad is an event. The Chess Olympiad is an event with so many countries participating, and more than 180 countries participating, and we have this great tradition going back close to 100 years. I mean, obviously, we will have to see what the Olympic movement says, but for chess, ideally, we would conserve it, at least in non-Olympic years. I mean, it's the one event where so many teams, whether they are composed of fully professionals or lots of amateurs and so on, all compete in the same event. It's very traditional and special for chess. So ideally, I would like to see it continue.
And Praveen?
Yeah, I think the chess Olympiad should continue for two reasons. Even if you have a team championship in the Olympic Games, it will still not include so many countries. It may be restricted to 12 countries or 16 countries or whatever it is. So it will not have the type of environment or type of promotional effect as the Olympiad has. Of course, it may have the name may have a problem, and the FIDE could change the name of the Chess Olympiad as something like a World Team Championship and do away with the existing World Team Championship. World Team Championship would be a good name where it will really be a World Championship. If because I'm sure that in the Olympic Games they wouldn't have so many countries participating. So that will be an aspect. Olympiad must continue, perhaps under a different name, to have exposure to the entire world.
Yeah, I think Praveen, you were right. I think the what I heard all those years ago, as I said, maybe 20 years ago, was that the thing was with the problem was with the name Olympiad. Then, as you said, maybe we could change the name of the Olympiad, make it, as you said, World Championship. And as Anand was saying, some other sports like tennis, tennis has Davis Cup as their World Team Championship. So maybe something like that. I totally agree with that. My next question would be it has been said that chess has a better chance to make it to the Winter Olympics rather than the Summer Games. Does chess at the Winter Olympics appeal as much, especially from an Indian point of view, Anand?
Again, we are discussing what the offer is before the offer is there. I, for one, don't see a big disadvantage in being in the Winter Olympic Games. But as I said, we may already be in the esports Olympics, and Summer Games is also fine. And like I said, how many the format, how many players will compete at the Olympic venue, how many will be screened before, all those details can come once we know what kind of what is the offer in a sense, how many athletes they want, how many chess athletes they want at the venue, and so on. For me, the prize of being in the Olympic Games is big enough that I think the rest we should be flexible.
Praveen?
Yeah, I think I fully agree with this that since we don't know the options, I mean, we can't have everything as we want because somebody else will be deciding that. Personally, I believe that it should be a part of the Summer Olympic movement because I was just making some study. I found that Summer Olympics are sort of, I think it has a better viewership. So if we get an option, I think being included in the Summer Games would be better than the Winter Games. The other side to that, which is the brain, the optimal temperature for the brain intellectual activity, and that is of course the temperature, lesser the temperature, good for the brain, and the brain is more active and brilliant. But since we are playing in under air conditioned thing, it doesn't really matter. So I think being included in Summer Olympics would be the best option, and the winter if summer is not possible.
Well, from an Indian context, can chess get any better? It is already doing wonderfully well. Can chess get any better if it is included in the Olympics? Purely from the Indian point of view, Anand.
The sport will benefit anyway in being in the Olympics. Of course, India is doing very well in chess now, and we can say that things are going very well for the Indian teams and so on. But in terms of global exposure and the benefits for the sport, I don't see really a clash. It's not one or the other. So yes, for me, it's clear that being in the Olympics is a huge benefit for chess.
Praveen, from the Indian point of view?
Perhaps it may not be a best thing for the strongest nation to have it everybody in the world playing that. For example, a game like cricket, it's if it's possible, it's possible that if the all the European and the American countries start playing it, we may not have our top position maintainable so easily. So competition will increase. From that point of view, one can say that India may not always maintain this position which we have achieved after all those years. But the better competition and a larger number of participants will ensure that there's a growth in chess, probably faster than what it is. And we may have players who emerge stronger than today just because it's played by several times a larger number of people. So it will benefit, the sport will definitely benefit. With regard to our chances, it will depend again on how we are able to match with the uh, other countries which take on chess.
Why has chess not appealed to the IOC so far, apparently? Or what more could we do to make chess more appealing? Anand?
I won't speculate on what the thing. I don't have any clear indication. It may be something specific about chess. It may not be about chess at all. It may be a decision taken by the IOC on how big their games are and how many sports they should have. By the same logic, I wouldn't say that the IOC objected to cricket before now. We don't know what the thing is, and until I know that, I would rather not speculate.
Yeah, on this, I'm a bit luckier than Anand, sheerly by being older than him. So I was able to hear the speech of Samranj, which of course doesn't value now after 30 years. But he said that he didn't consider this, it didn't appeal to him as a sport. That was the reason which he gave. And he said that at that time in 1994 Olympiad, he said that it doesn't look like a sport, it looks like an intellectual activity. So, as a solution to that, I was just wondering what could be done. And since we are there at the 2 seasons of Global Chess League, I think that's perhaps a great way of making it a community sport or a spectator sport or a common man sport, and then it will probably appear like a sport to the Olympic Committee. I mean, for us, it's of course a sport, and a lot of important things are involved. But some of the suggestions I would like to make is like one of the good things which was there in the Global Chess League as is that the specific time control. Because any sport that drags on for unlimited number of time, it could be in hours. It could be in hours. And that doesn't really attract a crowd, or it doesn't look like a sport, particularly with lot of very few pieces left on the board and in long end game being played, doesn't really look like a sport for a common eye, common man. So from that angle, I think we should have a quicker time control with fixed no incremental time. That would certainly help. And perhaps, I think you must have heard that in Japan they have their own chess, and the spectators are allowed to shout and cheer the players and even suggest the moves during the game. So I think if we go for that sort of version, I'm sure that the top players are really strong, and very rarely they would benefit from the spectator help. And if they are able to adjust to the noise that spectators could make, and it's a quicker game with a lesser chance of cheating, then we could really make it look like say 100 meters running or 200 meters running to the point of excitement at the end of it. So we know whether there will be a sudden finish and a last minute goal, or last minute saving of a goal, or last minute some sprinter overtaking somebody else. So that sort of thrill and excitement, depending on the ability of the decision making of the athlete, will play a very important role, and probably a very good tool to convince the Olympic Committee that yes, this is also a sport. Look at this. Nobody knows what's going to happen here, and something happens here. And just because of a sporting qualities of a person happen to be better rather than the knowledge. Sporting qualities in the sense the decision making, the courage to take decision, the quickness to make decisions. So these are the factors which make it look like more like a sport. And I think it could be a tournaments like Global Chess League for the Olympic format, could really make it sound like and look like a sport. And that is somewhere where players have to adjust to, in my opinion.
Anand, Pravin, thanks a lot. It has been a wonderful discussion. Thank you very much once again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.